The wind died as they entered the forest. Jake noticed at first the sudden stillness, like the world had taken a breath and held it. Anyone else feel that? He asked, adjusting his backpack straps. The others, Megan, Danny, and Liz, kept walking, their boots crunching on the carpet of dead leaves. These woods weren't on any hiking map. They'd found them by accident. Veering off the main trail after Danny swore he knew a shortcut to Blackwater Ridge. Feel what? Megan asked, her ponytail swinging as she turned. The wind, it's gone. Jake looked up at the canopy of ancient oaks and pines. The branches were perfectly still, yet somewhere high above, something seemed to move. Like a current passing through the leaves, Danny laughed. City boy getting spooked already? We haven't even set up camp. Jake forced a smile, but the unease lingered. The trees here were different, taller, older, their bark twisted into patterns that almost resembled faces if you looked at them too long. They found a clearing as the sun began its descent. The four friends worked together, setting up tents, gathering firewood, and unpacking supplies. Nobody mentioned how the forest seemed to watch them. As twilight settled, Danny got the campfire going. The flames cast dancing shadows across their faces while they roasted hot dogs and passed around a bottle of whiskey. You know, Liz said, pulling her jacket tighter, there's a story about these woods. Oh God, here she goes. Megan groaned, but she was smiling. My grandfather used to warn us about them, called them the Whispering Woods, said people who camp here sometimes hear things. What kind of things? Jake asked, his voice lower than he intended. Liz took a swig of whiskey. Voices, secrets, things they shouldn't know. Bullshit, Danny said, but his usual confidence wavered. The fire crackled. Something shifted in the darkness beyond their camp. Listen, Jake said suddenly. They all went quiet. At first, it was just the normal sounds of night, the pop of burning wood, the distant hoot of an owl. But beneath that, barely audible, was something else. A sound like rustling leaves. Except there was no wind. A sound almost like whispering. It's nothing, Megan said, but she was staring hard into the darkness. The whispers grew as night deepened. They tried ignoring them, talking louder, playing music from Danny's portable speaker. But when they finally retreated to their tents, the sounds followed. Jake lay awake, hearing what sounded like his name being called from somewhere in the forest. Next to him, Danny tossed and turned. You hear it too, Jake whispered. Danny nodded. They're saying things they shouldn't know. In the other tent, Megan sat bolt upright. The voices were clearer now, speaking directly to her. Speaking about the secret she'd kept for years, about the night of the accident, about the person she'd left behind. How do they know? She whispered. Hands trembling, Liz was already outside, standing barefoot in the dirt, her face pale in the moonlight. We need to leave, she said when the others emerged. Now. But as they frantically began packing up camp, the whispers rose to a crescendo. The ground beneath them shifted. Jake stumbled, falling to his knees. The earth felt strange, soft, and fibrous. When he pressed his hands down to push himself up, they sank into what should have been solid ground. What the hell, he gasped, yanking his hands free. In the beam of his flashlight, he saw something impossible. The ground was woven with what looked like roots, pulsing slightly, as if breathing. The trees, Liz said, her voice breaking. They're not just trees. All around them, the ancient trunks seemed to bend inward. The whispers had become a hungry chorus, repeating their deepest secrets, their worst shames, their darkest fears. Danny screamed first. The others turned to see him sinking, the ground beneath him opening like a mouth. Roots snaked up his legs, pulling him down with terrible strength. They tried to reach him, but the forest floor was transforming everywhere they stepped. What they'd thought was Earth was actually a vast network of roots and fibers, like a web stretched over a massive, patient mouth. "Run!" Megan screamed, grabbing Jake's arm, but there was nowhere to run. The trees had closed ranks around their clearing, forming a wall of gnarled trunks, and from every direction came the whispers, now sounding like laughter. The forest had been waiting for years, decades, perhaps centuries. It had been drawing people in with its secrets, people like them who wandered off trails, who thought they were just camping for a night. As the ground continued to soften and shift beneath them, Jake understood the horrible truth. The trees didn't just whisper secrets. They collected them, one by one, like those who had come before. The campers were pulled down into the hungry earth, their own secrets the bait that had lured them to this ancient, patient place. And when it was over, the forest fell silent again. The ground hardened, the trees straightened, the wind finally returned, waiting for the next group of hikers who would discover a forest that wasn't on any map, where the trees seemed to whisper secrets that nobody else could know.